our listeners out there. We support you. We love that you support us. Now, a word out to our sponsors. First sponsor here. No, I'm kidding. We're not quite
music
there yet.
intro, and welcome to today's Stand Up Stand Up. I am your host, Jerry Black, as always, and with me today we have Tim Stevens. It's the end of the week. We're going to talk about the imposter syndrome. I don't even want to know what that's supposed to be. So for the audio side of this, Tim just picked up a plant and put it in front of his face. I don't know if he's sneaking into the meeting or something. We're going to finish up the topic of the week, which is imposter syndrome. We'll do kind of a sum up of the things that we talked about this week, do some open source comedy as always, and then tease what we're going to be talking about next week. So all right, so earlier this week, when we started this, we really talked about the definition of imposter syndrome and what it, kind of this feeling of unease, an extended feeling of being a fraud, and how it shows up in IT. A lot of the time it's talking over people. It's this sort of, I need to be the smartest person in the room. I have to prove that I'm the smartest person in the room, that can manifest itself really negatively. And the impression that you leave on people can be very negative because of that. We did talk then on day 2 a lot about seeing it in ourselves and how we all have this imposter syndrome, and at times it, at different times, different stages in our lives, etc., and how to address it. And really, it's about working through that thing that you feel like you're an imposter at. And Tim brought up, which I thought was great, is a lot of the time, if you don't have a little bit of that feeling, that uneasiness, that feeling like you're not really who they expected you to be, you're probably not pushing your boundaries far enough. And that means that a little bit of imposter syndrome might be a good thing. We got into how to identify it with your teams, and when you see it in a team, how you can address it with teams or teammates. And really, I think the best advice came from Matt on that day, and he talked about really building your team's confidence in baby steps, but working with people who may not even want to necessarily admit that they have it or recognize that they have it. And not like you got to have a big team meeting about it to address it. More like, hey, I want you to speak tomorrow as opposed to me speaking tomorrow. I want you to lead this meeting. I want you to sit at the front of the room. I want you to just do those little things to drive confidence back into your team. And then if it does manifest itself negatively, addressing it with your teammates, saying, hey, you really overspoke in that meeting. You really talked a lot, and there's a lot of power in being quiet. And I think a lot of people miss that opportunity of just being quiet, listening, and really making great points in meetings. And so that was day 3. Day 4, I think Tim's favorite, was what are the benefits and how can we leverage those benefits? And we talked about that yesterday, and that was really about using it to make your work quality better, using it to drive you, using it to continue down the path, and recognizing that as you move into these other roles, Tim said it wonderfully, I thought, moving into these other roles, you got to pay the tax. You're going to pay a fee for being who you are, for being an overachiever, for continuing to push and excel. And part of that tax is a little bit of that feeling of imposter syndrome. And then we went into a little bit of, and those people who are not trying to achieve like that might actually try and pull you back down. There's an old story about, like, if you get crabs in a crab pot, and the crabs could actually get out if they really wanted to. They could crawl up and crawl out. But if one crab actually crawls up the side and starts making its way out, other crabs will actually grab it and pull it back down into the trap. And you end up being that crab that's trying to get out. And at times people try and pull you back down. So that's the sum up. I do want to talk today then a little bit about how comedy can help across this sort of this topic. We talked about it every day a little bit here and there, but turn it over to Tim here to talk a little bit about how you're using comedy to combat that imposter syndrome.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jerry. One of the areas that I know I need to improve is communication. And that communication trait, that characteristic, so important for my role. I moved to management in the last 2 years, managed a team of engineers, and it's not so much my knowledge and experience with technology that's going to make me a better manager or leader. That's very important. It should be valued, but it's my abilities to communicate. So crucial. And it's actually what I preach to my guys. Communication, especially in this world we live in, where most of us are remote, right? We're working from home. So how comedy fits into that communication is I've always struggled really finding exactly who I want to be and who I want to strive to be. And the other is just generally communication, expressing my thoughts, being personable, being sociable, right? Getting out of my shell, getting out of being an introvert. Comedy forces you to figure out who you are and how you want to be and your persona. Now that's on a stage, but if you want to connect with people on a stage, you want to connect with your audience in comedy, which you should all strive to, especially if you're listening to this show. The assumption is that's what you want to do. You have to be yourself. You got to be genuine, which means you're going to have to communicate, which means you got to work on your communication. So comedy is definitely just in this short period of time. And for those of you who don't know, Jerry obviously has a background in comedy, and Jerry's the one that really afforded this opportunity to me. So kiss on the cheek, Jerry, you're a good man. But comedy for me now, I'm going through a training classes with the local comedy club. Comedy for me right now, I'm falling in love with it for sure. And it is already, I can see the benefits of it, of being a better communicator and expressing myself. So even if, and I'll end with this, let's say that you're considering you're watching our show and you're like, yeah, this is probably something as an IT guy, I'd like to give it a try. And you don't know where to start, right? What I encourage you to do is, one, reach out to us, comment below in the video. We'll definitely respond probably within the first 24 hours, if not the first 24 seconds. But yeah, reach out to us. We can definitely help you with that and moving in the right direction. But the other thing is don't be afraid to go to a local comedy club, sit in, talk to people, talk to the owner, and begin conversation. Even if you don't even know what you're going to talk about, begin conversation, because you'd be amazed at how excited and receptive these club owners are, and even the comedians, most of them. And they can give you ideas. They can talk to you about potential opportunities, and then find a way, guys, of taking that and bridging that with your own organization. And we're not going to go into great detail now, but at some point, Jerry and I are going to share with you what we have done in the last year and a half, leveraging our organization and some of our customers, our service provider customers. And it's really helped us catapult what we're doing here to the next level. Super exciting. And the awesome thing about it, guys, we're not doing it just for the fame and the glory. We're doing it because it's our way of reaching out to everybody and connecting with other IT guys and girls that may have the same struggles that we're having today. So
yeah,
thank you, Jerry.
That's great. Yeah, absolutely. And I would put on top of that the statement that you made about comedy club owners. Getting a chance to talk with a club owner is one. It's not as hard as you might think. Maybe like the big clubs, like Improv or something along those lines, or if you're over in Hollywood, it's probably different. But in general, the club owners, especially the ones here in Phoenix and Tom in particular at Stir Crazy, they want to develop comedians in the community because they know that makes their shows better. And so they really do want to meet people and have people come and grow the community. And so, yeah, they're very open to those conversations a lot of the time. And then, yeah, in IT, absolutely, for us, it has been that there's been an opportunity to really share a lot of the stuff that we go through. And in comedy, we can do it in a comedic way, so we can maybe say some of those things that we don't really feel like sharing directly. but we could do it on stage, and we can and like you said, I really love we could be who we really are, or maybe sometimes who we really want to be, and then that just circles right back into, hey, we're able to you feel like less of an imposter when you're just being you, right? When you're hanging out with your buddies and your friends, rarely do you feel like an imposter. So, on stage, you can kind of cultivate that same thing. And I heard a comedian say, Jerry Corley said in a class I took from him, where he said, people say, well, I don't know if I'm funny, I don't know. And it's like, well, when you're with your friends, are you funny? And do they laugh? Yeah. Okay. Well, take that on stage and pretend to be with your friends, and it'll probably turn out relatively okay.
Right.
There's a lot more to it, but at least when you're on your first day or your first trying, that's not a bad way to go. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then, you develop your persona and who you want to be on stage, and that sort of stuff is a little bit different. But
100%.
anyways, all right. Well,
we got to cut it.
We got to cut it. So go ahead.
Real quick. I'm sorry. Guys, you'd be amazed if we have seen that real world in the last 6 months, that same situation. An IT guy approaches us, never thought to do something like this, didn't think he was funny. And he actually, I think some of those guys' performances, those same guys, were better than mine on the stage, right? For sure. And I'm okay saying that, right?
Sure.
But if you're scared and nervous, or you don't know where to start, whatever it may be, reach out to us. We have been, and we know guys that have been there. So thank you.
Yeah, including ourselves.
Yeah, including ourselves.
So with imposter syndrome closing out, I would say next week our topic will be artificial intelligence. And if you think you're an imposter, go on ChatGPT and type up something that you don't know anything about, and ChatGPT will show you just how little you know quickly. So we'll talk about AI, all of its, where we're seeing it, how we see it impacting the market, what we can do as people in this industry that I think are going to be maybe one of the bigger impacted industries, how we're going to leverage it, and and maybe some of the brighter sides, certainly some of the comedic sides of artificial intelligence. I'm sure there will be at least one artificially intelligent generated joke in there somewhere. So, all right. That's it for the show. Thank you very much, Tim, for joining. And we will talk to everybody next week.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. All right, Jerry,
I gotta remember in the stream. Yeah, I got to cut.
All right,
see you, brother.